I want to welcome past Rotary International President John Germ, who's our keynote speaker tonight, talking about polio. If you haven't heard him before, very engaging, very dynamic speaker. So thank you, John, for being with us. Past Rotary International Director Robert Hall is with us. He's also one of our End Polio Now vice chairs for fundraising. Zone Annual Giving Officer Katie Lessner is with us tonight. And our Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator, Sandra Hempstead, is also with us, and we're going to get to her in 1 second. So stand by, Sandra. If we go to the next slide briefly, I'll touch on our schedule for the evening. We're going to have a polio update and EPNC, the End Polio Now coordinators. Just one more acronym to stick in your cap there. We're going to hear from our End Polio Now coordinator teams. We're going to talk about Polio Plus. This one here, if you guys don't know, the Polio Plus Society Toolkit. We're going to hear about some World Polio Day events and resources. And then, like I said, Q&A at the end. So from there, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. And Sandra, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. I'm really excited to introduce John Germ. John is the retired board chair of Campbell and Associates Incorporated Consulting Engineers. He joined the firm as an engineer in 1965 after 4 years in the U.S. Air Force. He serves on the boards of several organizations, including the board and executive committee as chair of the Public Education Foundation, the board and executive committee of Orange Grove Center Incorporated, Blood Assurance Incorporated, and Erlanger Health Systems, a 700-bed hospital. He also is founder and treasurer of the Chattanooga State Technical Community College Foundation, president of the Tennessee Jaycees Foundation, and chairman of the Miracle League of Chattanooga, which raised funds and constructed a specially designed playground, ball field, and multi-purpose facility at Warner Park. He is also the founder of Camp Discovery, a camp for intellectually and developmentally disabled children and adults. John was Tennessee Young Man of the Year in 1970, Engineer of the Year in 1986, Volunteer Fundraiser of the Year in 1992, and Tennessee Community Organization Volunteer of the Year in 2009. He is a recipient of the Boy Scouts Silver Beaver Award and the Arthritis Foundation Circle of Hope Award. In 2013, the White House recognized him as a champion of change. John joined Rotary in 1976 and has served Rotary as president of Rotary International in 2016-17, vice president, director, foundation trustee from 2008 to 2012, and 2018 to 2022. And he served as chair of the trustees in 21-22. He was chair of Rotary's US $200 million challenge, which raised $228.7 million for polio eradication. Germ has served on numerous RI and Rotary Foundation committees, including chair of the Rotary Foundation Finance and Investment Committees. He also has served on the Rotary International President Nominating Committee 4 times and was chair of that committee 3 times. He is currently serving as chair of the Countdown to History Committee, which raises $50 million per year for the eradication of polio. He served on the International Polio Plus Committee and on the committee to select a new peace center in the MENA region. He negotiated the agreement and extension with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where Rotary will provide the $50 million annually to the eradication of polio, and the Gates Foundation will provide Rotary a match of $100 million for the eradication of polio. This is a 3-year grant. John has served as an aide to the president and aide to the trustee chair, Council of Legislation chair twice, and board advisory chair for the Council of Legislation in 2016 and 2022. John Germ has served as has received RI's Service Above Self Award, the Polio Plus Pioneer Award, the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service, and Distinguished Service Awards. He and his wife Judy are benefactors and members of the Arch Clump Society of the Rotary Foundation. They have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. And I am so excited that we get to hear from John Germ, such an amazing Rotarian, amazing individual. So John, the floor is yours.
Well, excuse me. Thank you very much, Sandra. It's a pleasure really to be with you. And I want to, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back a little bit in history. And, you know, when I got into Rotary, got to be governor, we were zones 4 and 10. And zones 4 and 10 is what is the history for the area that you're in now before it was rezoned back then in 2005, I think it was, and then again later on in 2016. But the reason I want to bring that little bit of history into this is that because, you know, this year's theme is creating hope in the world. And I want you to know that it was the leadership of zones 4 and 10 that helped create hope in the world for children that were affected by polio. Rotary had $750,000 that was left over from a convention and or funding and everything. And then it was Sir Clem Renoff who had the idea from reading where smallpox had been eradicated that was there something like that that could be happening in Rotary. And up until then, Rotary had only worked within their own community, had never really done a worldwide project. Several countries applied for a grant, and the Philippines were selected to do that grant. Now, where Zone 4 and 10 comes into this, and some of the past presidents that were members there, is that Sir Clem called one of the individuals that was going to be his district governor-elect and asked him whether or not this was possible. This individual, John Severs, still serves on the International Polio Plus Committee today, and he knew Dr. Sabin. So he got a hold of Dr. Sabin, and they said, yes, it could be done. Sir Clem then made another call, and he made that call to a guy by the name of James Bomar. And James Bomar was a very good friend of Herb Brown's. And James was going to be the president of Road International, and he was from Shelbyville, Tennessee, following Sir Clem Renoff. And Sir Clem said that he knew that we couldn't do this in 1 year. I don't think he thought it was going to take 40 years, but couldn't do it in 1 year. So therefore, he wanted to be sure that the continuity was going to be there. So if we think about creating hope, just think about what that first grant of $750,000 to provide vaccine and to vaccinate 6 million children in the Philippines. That's Rotary creating hope. Those children, and I have downstairs here at my house a picture of the child that was getting those first 2 drops of vaccine. It's an artist rendering. It means a lot to me. It means that Rotary saw that we're serving humanity, in fact, created hope in the world, because the children then had hope that they would not be crippled. So in 1982, when that proved to be successful, then Rotary went to the World Health Alliance and said, why don't we make this a worldwide program? Well, would you believe that they didn't even let the Rotary into the room to make the presentation? Now, Rotary could have said, okay, well, we're going to go away and we're not going to do anything. If that's the way you want to do it, it's your program. But that's not what Rotary said. Rotary said, how much is it going to cost? Now, in the meantime, there was other people starting to get involved with the eradication of polio. One of them was Jim Lacey. He was from Cookeville, Tennessee, which is also part of zones 4 and 10 back at that time. Rotary said, how much is it going to take? And Rotary was told it's going to take about $100 million. One of the individuals they contacted was an individual from Bahamas to help raise that money. The professional fundraisers said we could never raise $100 million. They said that you've never had a fund drive before, so you could never do that. They said if you did raise it and get pledges for it, you wouldn't collect it all. But if you did collect it all, you weren't going to collect it in the 3 years that you wanted to do it in. Well, guess what? They were wrong. Rotary, under the direction of Jim Lacey, who had the North American part, and our fundraising chairman, who actually went to and lived in Evanston in order to do this, Rotary set a goal of $120 million. $120 million. That was going to be the solution to the eradication of polio. Well, we all know that that didn't happen. Rotary didn't raise $120 million. We raised $247 million. Then in 1985, Rotary went back to the World Health Organization. If you look at this map, you'll see in 1988, there was 125 countries affected by polio. 1,000 cases a day, 1,000 cases of a day. And several of us can remember when our parents told us we couldn't go play with the next door neighbor. We couldn't go to the public swimming pool. It's kind of like COVID is today. But you know what? Look at the chart on the right in 2023. 7 cases. 2 of them in Afghanistan, 5 in Pakistan. 7 cases. You know, it's been a long and hard journey. Well, obviously, the $247 million and other funds that came in from governments was not sufficient for us to accomplish what we needed to do. Rotary had another fund drive in 2003. $85 million raised $125 million. But then we had the best blessing, I think, that Rotary could have gotten. In November of 2007, and we'd been working with the Bill and Melinda Gates for quite a while, they signed an agreement and they offered us $100 million. And the interesting thing about that agreement is there was only 2 stipulations. 2. One stipulation was we had to spend that $100 million by December the 31st of 2008. The second stipulation was that they wanted us to raise $100 million by June the 30th of 2010. Now, they didn't say if you don't raise it, you got to pay it back, because they knew that Rotary makes a commitment and gives their word. Rotary keeps their word, keeps their promises. So we were about halfway through with that campaign, and I was asked to chair that campaign, as Sandra said. We were about halfway through in 2009, and the Gates Foundation says, I'll give you another $100 million if you'll raise another 100. Well, I don't know about any of you, but I certainly wasn't going to tell Bill Gates no, that I wasn't going to do that. But I did ask Bill why in New York, he was releasing one of his early newsletters. And I said, Bill, why did you give this money to Rotary? You could have given it to the countries. You could have given it to WHO. You could have given it to CDC. You could have given it to UNICEF or whoever you wanted to give it to. So why did you give it to Rotary? And he said, John, it's really simple. Rotary has passion. Rotary has tenacity. And Rotary has boots on the ground. So just think of what all has happened in that journey. There's no saying that says a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with one single step. To me, that single step was the eradication of polio from the Philippines. We have continued along that journey. We now have an agreement with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that if we do $50 million a year, that they will give us $100 million. Well, let me tell you that we, in 2023 now, we finished, in 2020, we finished with over $50 million. I don't have the exact number. I do know we finished with over $50 million. I know that we have a strategic plan. That strategic plan says that we are going to eradicate all the polio in the world. No, the last cases will be in 2023. We've only got the 7 that I mentioned. We have the vaccine-derived virus, and yes, we're still working on that. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train coming toward us. So yes, we give out $150 million a year. Gates Foundation does not ask us, where do we spend that money, except that it has to be spent for polio. We give it basically to WHO and to UNICEF. We do it 3 times a year. They apply for grants, just like you do for a global grant or anything else. They have to apply for those grants. Rotary so far has spent about $4.5 billion. 2.6 billion. I'm sorry, 2.6 billion. U.S. government spent 4.5, and part of Rotary's job is also to do advocacy, excuse me, with the U.S. government. You see some pictures on your screen. These are the leaders for zones 33 and 34. Well, let me tell you what zones 33 and 34 did in 2023. Zone 33, or region 40, did $2,416,755 of cash and DDF. That's third in the entire world. Third in the entire world. Zone 34 did $2,355,182. Fourth in the entire world. So y'all should be congratulated on the great work that Bernie and Colleen and Kim and Lindsay and Jeffrey, Kim Walden has done with social media. Be happy, be glad that you've continued that leadership that actually started in the zones 4 and 10 previously. Nancy, Barbie, and Bruce are coming on next year. They're being students this year, or studies this year. They will be at a meeting on tomorrow morning. I think they're supposed to be on a meeting at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and I'm looking forward to that. Your giving has increased from 2018-19 through 2022-23. You've continued to give because you believe in what we're doing. One of the things that has improved greatly, and what we have to continue to work on, is club participation. Club participation is right now 82.72% in zone 33, 71.04% in zone 34. We've got to continue to tell our story, and that's where Kim and her team comes in, because the younger Rotarians that are coming in today do not know anything about polio eradication and why we must continue to do this. But would you believe in 1955, there was a worldwide study that was done of what were you most afraid of? Number 1 was nuclear power. Number 2, polio. So you see, Rotary has created hope all these years by protecting the children and keeping our promise to eradicate polio. So Sandra, Michael, thank you all for letting me be with you. I'll stay with you for the rest of these presentations, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. And I believe I've kept it within my time limit.
You're a tough act to follow. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. So you'll see in the next slide that we're talking about the Polio Plus Society today as one of our things to share with you. That came on board October of 2022 when the RI trustees endorsed the Polio Plus Society as a club and district-led program. They agreed that these societies would develop their own donor recognition programs based on recurring gifts to polio. So what that basically means is that every district can establish their own criteria for membership in a Polio Plus Society. And they can decide on their own recognition awards and marketing materials. And actually, this is a pretty similar theme to how the Paul Harris Fellow Program got started and was set up initially. And we all know how effective that is and how amazing that is. So just to give you an idea of where the original Polio Plus Society concept came from, in 2012, Rotarian Harriet Scholler of Bend High Desert Rotary in Oregon, along with then District Governor Del Gray of District 5110. They were current Polio Plus Chair, then current Polio Plus Chair Nelson Mahler reports. From that program, they currently have now nearly 800 Rotarians who signed up to be members of the Polio Plus Society. So obviously, you can see that means our Polio Plus Society is giving a minimum, if it's $100 a person, of $80,000 annually, which is then matched. So this is an excellent example of why to start a Polio Plus Society if your district doesn't already have one. And we truly believe that the Polio Plus Society is going to be a great way for Rotary to make a huge difference in giving to polio. This next slide, we have a video for you to watch. And this video is from the Pakistan Polio Eradication Program. It hits home that even one child with polio is one child too many. Polio is a terrible disease with no cure, as you know, but it's preventable. And Rotary and our partners, as you heard, are so close to eradicating polio, and we're only down to 2 countries. So RI President Gordon McAnally said, this is the time for us to go beyond what's necessary year to year and make sure we provide every resource to succeed as quickly as possible. He asked the district governor line to make this a priority and for the clubs and districts to make this a priority. And did you know that only 1 in 12 members across the board currently gives to polio, with fewer than 1 in 5 clubs donating $1,500 each year? We need to change that, and we believe that Polio Plus Society will help us reach our goals, and so I'm really excited to tell you more about that. So on this next slide, you can see that we have 2 things that we can work on. So for any district that already has a Polio Plus Society, they can access the brand new Polio Plus Society Toolkit and get some new and creative ideas to refresh their society. They can also, for clubs who don't have one, you've heard how effective it was, they can create a brand new district Polio Plus Society. So I'm going to go through that toolkit. As a reminder, everything you want to know about polio facts, polio case counts, and so much more is all on endpolio.org. So I hope you take some time to explore that. It's definitely worth it. And you'll see the link for the toolkit. So hopefully we can put that in the chat and you can check that out. But if each new Polio Plus member donates $100 recommended or $10 a month, or you could do more, of course, that easily allows clubs to reach their $1,500 in recommended giving. And best of all, Polio Plus Society members will be part of the historical legacy and be able to say, I helped end polio. And hopefully we'll do that by 2026. That'd be awesome. But as you know, every donation is matched 2 to 1, and every dollar that you give counts towards a Paul Harris Fellow. So that is all amazing stuff. So let me go on and tell you about the Polio Plus Society Toolkit. So it's now available in multiple languages, and you'll see on the top left the gold words Polio Plus Society. That's the official logo. And there is a PowerPoint. So the PowerPoint is going to share how to begin a Polio Plus Society if you don't have one. The district coordinator information, that's going to detail how to promote it. And then the zone pitch, that's going to give you an example of a best practice of a currently very successful Polio Plus Society. And then those final pieces, you're going to see the certificate, pin vendors that you can access, and also a 100% Polio Plus Society banner, which would be completely awesome. And then our very favorite person, Sean Patty, put together a Google Polio Plus Society form. So that can be sent to your club. Just let us know you want it. And then what you can do is share that out, and that will help you to know who has donated and allow you to keep track of those pledges. And then your district leadership and your End Polio Now coordinators, who are all on this webinar, can help you to see the contribution detail report, which is brand new and just added all of the polio information. So they'll be able to help you see who actually did make those donations against your Google Sheet list. And we're going to have other tools coming along. But if you think of something and you're like, oh, Kim, I wish I had that, just let me know. So this next piece, this is the most important thing. So now you've heard all about and read how to do a Polio Plus Society event. So you want to make sure you register that. And they just created a brand new, easy to use form. And so this is where that link is. If we could put that in out there for everyone to see, you just fill that out. When you go there and fill it out, you're going to be able to see who else is doing a World Polio Day event. And you're going to be able to see other ideas for World Polio Day. So that's all awesome information for you. So the next step, you roll at least $1,500, and you've got all the resources that we talked about. So here is what I would say would be a very simple way to put on a World Polio Day event. I think you just do it in a club meeting or have a special event. And the most important part is hyping it. You got to hype your event. You guys probably saw the videos that were done by our pick Michael Wallstrom, things like that you can do. You can put the information in your newsletter, add it to your club social media. You can share polio facts from the endpolio.org website, and all this information, just drip it out leading up to your event. And then the day of your event, if it's a club meeting, I think the best way to do it is to kick it off with a video. And we've added a couple on here. You just saw one, but we've added one from past Rotary International President Jennifer Jones, asking Rotarians to please join the Polio Plus Society. So that's a really great way for you to kick it off, and then you can just talk about it. So we did include several videos, and there's a lot more on endpolio.org. Now you've played your video, you've talked about polio, and you can say, okay, everyone, hold up your phone. And you can give them the link, endpolio.org/donate, and you can say, okay, go on there and you can become a member right now. And all they have to do is click recurring giving, and boom, they are a Polio Plus Society member. You can also have someone sitting in the back of the room with a computer set up to that, and they can help people join. So that makes it super easy for people. And once that one person starts doing it, it's infectious. So now you've gotten all your members in your club to join, and everyone wants that pin that you see on the top left of the event. So you get everyone to put on their pin. You take a picture, and maybe you've given out a bunch of End Polio swag. So post your picture, and don't forget, put it on social media, your club newsletters, and congratulations. Now you've just helped provide vaccines and gotten us closer to our 50 million so that we can make that match by the Gates Foundation. And now everyone in your club who joined can say they helped eradicate polio. So on the next slide, it talks about recognition items. So the recognition items, you can see an example of a certificate, a polio coin, and the details are all in the toolkit. But basically this coin that you see, and this is just a pin example, every district can have their own pin. But this one came from pinthis.com. So if you go to https:/pinthis.com, you'll see that information. The coins all came from the US Mint, so they're official coins. And you can also get coin cases. So if you order 100 coins and pin cases, you'll probably spend $1.25 on each person. And they're really cool to get, and everyone gets very excited. Bill Strickland gave me mine and I was loving it. So really appreciate that. But everyone loves swag. Come on. So now you've heard about some awesome swag. So let's have some handouts. So I created a couple of handouts. So here's a couple of flyers. The first one is the Polio Plus Society, and it's just something that you can pass out to everyone or share if you are a district leader with your clubs, and encourage them to use these resources. And ask the Polio Plus Society team at Rotary Polio Plus Society at gmail.com if you have questions. And then as you can see on the right, there's a picture of a dog wearing an End Polio Now bandana. You know that Polio Plus members can be pets. Zone 26 and 27 created the Polio Plus Society Kennel Club with their mascot, Molly Owen. And you can make your pets members too. So you can QR code right into that. When you do that, you may see a brief ad that you can skip. After that, you're going to get to a form that you can fill out. And pretty soon you will receive a bandana in the mail. And your pet will be an official Polio Plus Society Kennel Club member. So that's pretty cool. They say, please hashtag PPS Kennel Club out there on your social media so that you can share the word about this. And, you know, when you ask your club members to raise their hands, they're all going to say, I have a pet, and it's a great idea. So this is just one example of another way that you can raise money for polio. So we talked about videos, and I said I was going to share some. So on this next screen, you can see the video from Jennifer Jones, and she's asking everyone.
Greetings, my Rotary.
And you can see the link to join again. And on the bottom video, this is an awesome video, one of my favorites, and it talks about all of the world leaders who have joined forces as a group, as a worldwide effort to end polio now. So that's definitely an awesome one that you may want to watch and share later. So on this next slide, you can make your own video. So ask all of your club members to make their own video. Just go to makepoliohistory.org. They give you a script. They give you tips on how to do a video. And it is so fun. If you go to our Polio Plus Society Facebook group, you can see Bernie Rydell, who did an awesome video and shared it. But this is something that's going to just help everyone hype it. And they're going to showcase all of these later. So it'll definitely be a lot of fun to be part of this effort. And on this next slide, I did talk to you about our Polio Plus Society Facebook group. So here, all you have to do is type in the search Polio Plus Society, and you'll probably find it. But otherwise, the link is on your screen. And it will keep you up to date on all things polio. So you can go there. Please like, please share, please follow, and please let everyone know to join this so that all that information is out there for them. For the next slide, we talked about hyping your event. Well, here's how. So there's a QR code that'll take you to allow people to join the Polio Plus Society. There's the Kennel Club QR code. It looks a little fuzzy, but it works. And then here's some great ideas to talk about End Polio Now and create buzz. So check out these stairs. That's incredible. And then someone else last year created this sand art. I can't even imagine how they did that, but that's awesome. Of course, you want to put everything out there on your social media. You can go to all of the Rotary vendors, the official Rotary vendors, and you can see all the swag, the great t-shirts, the hats, you know, all kinds of things, the bracelets, the table covers, banners, so everything. And if you want to really go out, check out this person who painted End Polio Now on their head. So if you have a head like that, that would definitely be a great way to showcase End Polio Now. So here we go. We're going to the next slide, and we have to talk about Raise for Rotary. So Raise for Rotary is absolutely the best thing ever. It's a tool that Rotary International introduced for fundraising, and it is easy peasy. So all you have to do is go there to rotary.org/raise, and you can create, just with a few clicks, your own fundraiser. You can scroll down and you can see all kinds of fundraisers that are already in effect. And it's just an awesome way. I know you've seen people on Facebook for their birthday saying, hey, donate for my birthday. You can do the same kind of thing here for polio. You can acknowledge life events, memorials. You can challenge people. You can do runs like what we're going to hear about with Bernie. And everything that you do is going to help the Rotary Foundation causes and make it very, very easy to share your fundraiser through social media, email, text, and more, so that family members, club members, friends, colleagues, anyone you see on the street, talk to on the bus, they can jump on board and donate. And that's what we want. We want anyone and everyone to donate. So here's an example on this next slide that talks about what some of the different options are. So you can see those fundraisers, and simple. All this money directly goes to the foundation. So it takes all of the difficulty out of it. So next, we get to hear from our awesome End Polio Now coordinator, Bernie Rydell. And he has some great events to share. So I'll turn it over to you, Bernie.
Well, thank you, Kim. This is the first of 3 events I will be talking about tonight. Our Rotary Carnival, an event to create awareness for our fight against polio. It was held on World Polio Day at Segra Park in Columbia, South Carolina. We had music, free food, and the very popular beer tasting. And lots of games with a polio theme, like a putting green, sink a putt and help to sink polio. A dartboard, let's target polio. Or a pirate's photo booth, polio walks the plank. We also had 4 deputy sheriffs from the Richland County Sheriff's Department helping to keep the peace and keeping an eye on some rowdy Rotarians. We even had a giant okra man. If you're not from the South, okra is an interesting vegetable that has a bit of a cult following. Good fried and in dishes like gumbo. And we actually have okra festivals, which is where this big guy came from. We had sponsors, and although we did not plan to make money, after all the expenses were paid, we actually made about $2,000. Probably over 400 attended and about 30 volunteers. We worked with our district polio image chairs, Ken and Mary Gask, who did a fantastic job marketing this event. Next. Our next event, excuse me, our next event takes place on the steps of the South Carolina State House. This was a district World Polio Day rally in our state capital, Columbia, South Carolina. An amazing awareness event, not a fundraiser. Again, we worked with our district image chairs, Mary and Ken Gask, who advertised the event on billboards in Columbia and 5 other cities in South Carolina. They set up radio interviews, articles in our state newspaper, distributed brochures to businesses and restaurants. Attending dignitaries were our state councilwoman Devine, U.S. Congressman Wilson, RI Vice President Ann Matthews, and District Governors David Terrard from our district 7770 and Carol Burdett from our sister district 7750 in the upstate of South Carolina. We had a proclamation from our South Carolina Governor McMaster declaring October 24th World Polio Day in South Carolina. Overall, about 60 Rotarians attended with a public audience of about 100. It was a great media event, which we also used to encourage clubs to have their own World Polio Day event if they could not attend. Next. And our last event is the Run with Bernie Polio Challenge. It's a district-wide event that occurs at the club level. It starts July 1st and ends on October 24th, World Polio Day. So how does it work? Well, clubs create teams, and members of these teams can be Rotarians, family, friends, neighbors, anyone, anywhere in the world. Team members can run, walk, bike, swim, row, golf, walk the dog, shop, basically anything that results in miles. The goals are simple. Number 1, raise dollars and awareness for our fight against polio. Number 2, help clubs achieve their club polio goals. Number 3, have fun. And number 4, maybe, just maybe, get a bit healthier. So how do we raise dollars? Well, outright contributions, like you already heard tonight, for one, but mostly through pledges, usually dollars per mile for an individual or based on a team's total miles. But on occasion, a member will step up and make a pledge, a match, like matching a team's dollars up to $25,000. Yes, that actually happened, and the team raised just shy of $24,000. The result, almost $48,000 for polio. Now, all dollars pass through the clubs as normal contributions to the Rotary Foundation for Polio. Their club and the district gets credit. So we had said anybody anywhere in the world, the same applies. Their club and district will get credit. All we ask is that at the end, in World Polio Day, they let us know what they have raised and their miles for our records. Now, we have given away a lot of End Polio Now t-shirts over the years, specifically to encourage photo ops and lots of social media posts, raising awareness like the Rotarians you see on this screen. And we like to promote a little competition. So we like to track total team miles and total team dollars raised. We even have the 1,000-mile club for individuals. Our first 2 years, we raised a total of $170,000 and totaled over 80,000 combined miles. Our third year is, well, work in progress yet. So now, going forward, we are looking for a little outside competition. Maybe a Run with Marshall Polio Challenge. Or how about a Fly with Jeremy? Or a Pedal with Patrick? Or maybe a Swim with Kim Polio Challenge. Over to you, Kim Waters.
Thank you, Bernie. What great ideas. I am in Polio Now coordinator for Georgia, And most of you on this webinar will be in Nassau the week of World Polio Day. Several Nassau restaurants will be donating a portion of the proceeds that week to Polio Plus. Consider doing that in your town, asking restaurateurs to donate a portion of proceeds to Polio Plus that week, or maybe the weekend before or after. Last year's event in Nassau raised over $15,000. If your club, next slide, please. If your club is struggling for a polio idea, an event for World Polio Day, I would ask you to consider having a World's Greatest Meal. My own club is doing this, and I've already registered that meal as a World Polio Day event. So what you do is you would go to endpolio.org, register your event, then ask attendees to make a donation to Polio Plus. I will be offering a video link available via YouTube for clubs who want a polio program. Also, you saw the program ideas earlier from Kim Walden, the Jennifer Jones video, for instance. My video will give clubs an update on where we stand with polio eradication. So contact me if you would like to get that video for your club program for World Polio that week. If you want to call your club's meal that week a World's Greatest Meal, again, go to endpolio.org/world-polio-day, or you can go to endpolio.org and you'll see it there. There you'll also find more World Polio Day event ideas. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that. Those are some great ideas. On our next slide, you can see a few more great ideas that we have for you. And we have a lot more ideas that we'll be adding. So obviously there's some on endpolio.org as well. And then on our final slide, before we go to Q&A, I just want to remind you the reason why we're doing this. Polio is just a plain right away, and we're doing it for the children. And if we can, we want to accomplish this and eradicate polio. And it will be only the second human disease in history to ever be eradicated. And we can do it. Rotarians can do it. So if you have questions for me, please go ahead and email me at rotarypolioplussociety@gmail.com. And we will be now turning it over to Michael Wallstrom.
So I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank all the presenters. That was some fantastic stuff. And I believe Lindsay is going to be taking the Q&A. Is that correct, Lindsay?
Yes, I will. Several were placed in the Q&A box, not many, but the main repeated question was, will the presentation tonight, the recording of it, be available later? And the answer is yes. Of course, we can and will circulate it to the participants after the event. Then I think there were a couple of other questions. Another one was, well, how do we deal with anti-vaxxers when we're talking to prospective donors to the End Polio Now campaign? And I would like to throw that out to some of my other colleagues here who may want to answer this. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I see Robert Hall itching to say something.
What was the question again, Lindsay? I was trying to.
Do we have pointers on how to handle the anti-vaxxer point of view when we're asking people to support vaccines for polio?
Well, I mean, not all people do want to vaccinate, that's for sure. I think we got a couple of situations, whether it be New York, whether it be the last case in India. The last child, the father wouldn't let his child get vaccinated. And he was in tears, and the next day found out. I mean, we have not found that all this is an oral polio vaccine. I believe the United States, it's not oral anymore. And so the chance of getting the circulating polio virus from the vaccine is you don't have that. Now, John, you can correct me, but the oral polio vaccine, as you know, it's like 1 in 2 million chance, and you could get it. But, you know, I just ask a question when people ask me a question. I mean, what if your child did get polio? What if your grandchild did get polio?
Well, there's, you know, in a lot of the countries, it is the injectable type that is being given now. And so that's what, you know, some of us had the sugar cubes back in the 50s with the little pink stuff on there that I don't remember us having a choice. I just remember getting in line and doing it.
Correct.
The first thing I would ask that person that says, I don't believe in vaccinations, ask them if they got COVID. I mean, that's just blunt as it can be, because chances are they got their cells protected from COVID. They may not have, but they probably didn't get their children protected. That's where a lot of the anti-vaccine is coming to. They don't want to give it to the children. It is safe. COVID's coming back in the United States again. My office notified me today that I don't go down there, but once a week, Thursday, and they said I wouldn't come because 10 of the employees have gotten COVID. So they traced it back, and it came from somebody that had not gotten vaccinated. So that's how it spreads. So I would just simply say, I understand you got your own rights to do what you want to do, but are you willing to take a chance on your child or your grandchild?
I mean, Lindsay, I don't think a lot of people know that. It reminds me of a elementary school presentation Charlene made, and we went up in someplace in North Georgia, Union County or something, I don't know, for elementary school, and told these children who knew nothing, and then went home and told their parents and their neighbors, this can actually kill you. I mean, polio, yeah, can paralyze your leg or your arm, and that's tragic. And you won't be able to ride a bike or run or play basketball or dance or ballerina, whatever. But it can attack your lungs. It threatens your lungs. And if that happens to you or your child, you wouldn't forgive yourself. And I don't know many other diseases that can actually kill a person like this, but it can, and most people don't even know it.
Lindsay, one of the other questions, and I don't know the answer to this, is that if a person, and I'm paraphrasing, but if a person makes a contribution online to the Polio Plus Society, or how does their club know that they made that contribution? And so Kim Waters, one of y'all may know, because I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I do. And
Okay.
I think I answered it in writing, but basically when you go to endpolio.org and you go to the donate page, at the very bottom of that, it asks you if you want to sign in or continue as a guest. If you sign in, that's the same as signing in at Rotary.org. So it knows who you are, which club you belong to, which district you're in, all that stuff. If you continue as a guest, of course, there's no way to track it to your club. But if you sign in, then it happens automatically because it's linked to the Rotary International database.
And you just have to remember to click recurring gift. So if you had made that gift online last July and you clicked recurring, then it would automatically charge you again this next July if you set it up to be every year. So set it and forget it and you're done. And that's a nice way to do it. And that's why I think that endpolio.org/donate is such a great site.
There was another question about, can the pets become
Yes. Paul Harris fellows.
Paul Harris members? Well, not unless they got a social security number. So,
Well, actually they can, because if you donate to the Rotary Foundation and accumulate 1,000 points,
yeah, you
can
give it
whoever
to
you like as a Paul
That's
Harris, right?
There you go.
So even if TRF doesn't know it, there are pets who are Paul Harris fellows. I know because there's 2 in this house.
That's awesome.
Sometimes what the trustees don't know is okay.
A lot of people don't know though, too. You can join the Polio Plus Society and say give $100. That goes towards your sustaining member also. You
Sure.
don't have to give the annual fund. We want you to give to both of them. But I had a DG tell me one time you had to give to the annual fund to get major donor credit. You couldn't get the polio. So I hope some of the answers here have cleared up and clarified some of the situation. But I think, John, you did a great job. I think motivating, inspiring. And then Kim, you know, when John said 70, 80% of our clubs and our zones participate, and then Kim said, you know, 1 out of 11 worldwide Rotarians participate. Let me just put that in perspective. Worldwide, about 50% of the clubs participate. So we're 50% better. Worldwide, 9% of Rotarians give. Well, you're 50% better. Where would that put us? 15%, 20%, 30%. There's still a lot of Rotarians that don't give. And Kim said that it's not just about raising the money right now. We want all Rotarians to be part of this and hold their hand up and say, I helped do this. This is my legacy. So this is what the Polio Plus Society does. Plus, like on the West Coast, July 1, they raised $500,000. You know, that's important too. I think Bernie and Kim did a great job in sharing ideas, and that's what this whole thing was about, was to share ideas for World Polio Day. And I hope you have those, and this is recorded. You can go back and look at them. If you got any questions, any of our polio coordinators is available. And so just, this has been a terrific session. And I want to thank the public image team for putting this on.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And Michael, you want to wrap it up?
Good meeting, starts on time, ends on time, 7 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Y'all have a nice evening.